Kinetic is a blockchain crypto investment firm based in Hong Kong and Puerto Rico. Founded in 2016, they were the first fund in Hong Kong and one of the earliest in Asia. With a portfolio of over 220 companies, they were seed investors in such projects as Ethereum, Parity and Polkadot, Solana, FTX and of course Handshake and Namebase. Founder Johan Chu is an active investor and supporter of the Handshake ecosystem. Over 100,000 domains, co-founder of DWeb Foundation, co-founder of HandyCon, and sponsor of the Handshake House at Miami Hack Week 2022.
All right, hello everybody, welcome back. Right now we got Kiba, and he's going to talk about XNHNS. Kiba's pretty much an OG in the community, very well-known name. Started the HNS fund, very helpful within the community. He's also really active within the DeFi and Ethereum ecosystem. But I will, Mike, you got anything?
I mean, I said, we're just excited for this talk. I'm really excited to hear the latest on this.
Sure.
We've been following this for a while, so okay.
Guys, cool. Yeah, just some overview. If you have like any questions, there's the Q&A thing, but I'll try to respond to like any small things during the presentation if I can, but I don't know if I'll be able to see the messages. So here we go. So cross-network handshake. I just stole the handshake logo and I tilted it, and if you look in like 3 dimensions, it's still an X in a way. So yeah, what are we really trying to solve with cross-network handshake? And it's really that handshake, the blockchain itself is kind of limited in what it can actually do. Like we have UTXOs and a scripting language, and we have these covenants, but a lot of more complex things are difficult or not possible with it. That being said, like the UTXO model, I think is quite well adapted to like NFT type assets like domain names. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do in Handshake that can't be done on Bitcoin, for example. But either way, there's still a lot more things that we can be doing with our TLDs that just isn't supported on Handshake itself. And we might not even want to support it on Handshake if it's things like, I don't know, who knows what, like SLDs, for example. There's a reason why SLDs aren't on Handshake itself. So yeah, we're really trying to increase the utility of Handshake TLDs as digitally native crypto assets. So there's all these things you can do with other tokens, like you can take out loans against them, you can like provide liquidity for them, like you can tokenize them, like split up your one NFT into multiple ERC20s, that type of thing. And all these things can provide value for TLDs owners themselves, and they can also provide value for like SLD, like end users. Like you can create whatever DAOs for SLD users, you can create all these other applications that make Handshake as these crypto native domain names, where we can do things like Dane, where we can have shared ownership, like all these kinds of things. And we want to enable that for the community. And so the way that we're doing that, I misspelled programmatic. I thought I fixed that. But we're doing that just by enabling smart contract applications to be used with Handshake domains. And so that would be things like issuing SLDs and running your own registrar, tokenizing your TLD, taking out loans against your assets, like those kinds of things. Also creating DAOs, like you can create a DAO that controls a TLD, or a DAO that is, so the members are compromised of all the SLD holders, those kinds of things. So there's these rather complex applications that on Handshake are virtually impossible, at least for the moment. But on Ethereum or these like other EVM chains, they're actually like pretty trivial to set up. So what we've done at the moment so far is we've forked ENS. Yeah, as they just mentioned in like the last and previous chat, I helped them kind of set up .badass. And then Badass is kind of like a singleton, like it's only for the .badass TLD itself. You can't add any other TLDs to it, which is why it's kind of cool. Like they've kind of like locked everything. But with the cross-network handshake, we've allowed this ENS fork to support multiple TLDs at once. And once you actually issue your TLD, you get an NFT that represents your ownership of it. And that NFT now kind of like controls the TLD itself within the cross-network handshake system. So if you have to put some kind of deposit whenever you issue these TLDs, and that then calls the oracles to then confirm that your handshake domain is configured correctly with HIP-5. And then when you get the response back that yes, you've set up your records properly and it's configured for a cross-network handshake, then your deposit kind of gets activated. And if you ever change your chain or your records on Handshake, then we slash your deposit. And that's kind of how we're solving this trustlessness issue of making sure that TLD's owners aren't kind of trying to gimmick people on the other chain by selling fake SLDs or whatever. Yeah, so this is kind of just an overview on, I guess, what the value proposition of cross-network handshake is and compared to the rest of the market. And so obviously on the left hand, you have just the normal traditional DNS system, and on Web3 on the right, it's the ideal end state that we can all get to. And so Namebase is kind of this, they have Handshake and this Web3 native stuff on the backend side with the root zone, but then they're more decentralized registries and registrars. And so they're not fully enabling the capabilities that we can have. And this is kind of ENS, what most people kind of think of as ENS, I would say, where, well, at least people in the Handshake community think of ENS, where it's this kind of they're aligned with ICANN and they're using the ICANN root zone. And they actually have a lot more risk, I would say, if you're using it this way, because you still have all of the kind of traditional risk from the normal DNS and security and that kind of stuff. And then you also have all the additional smart contract risk of ENS. So I think it's kind of the worst of both worlds. But what .eth is on ENS is actually very different from all the other domain names on ENS, whatever .xyz or .art or those kinds of ones, where .eth actually isn't controlled by ICANN or any of that at all. It is autonomous and completely stored within the Ethereum smart contract, and it's immutable. So .eth owners will always own their .eth domains no matter what, irrespective of if ICANN supports ENS. And with cross-network handshake, this is what we're ideally getting to, is where everything is this completely full stack, Web3 stack. And basically we're using ENS, we're using these same ENS components, but just extending them. Instead of using the root zone from ICANN, we're using the root zone from Handshake. And so you're having that full cryptographic ownership and kind of transparency into the whole system, and that security that you need to actually operate your businesses or use it as an identity and those types of things. So yeah, this is just a little bit more a granular view on how it works. So yeah, on the ENS side, we're using their registry and the resolvers. So that's kind of the smart contract that stores all the domain names and all of the records for those domain names, essentially. And then what cross-network handshake is doing is basically we're providing the root zone for this ENS registry. And so we're kind of saying which TLDs can be issued onto this blockchain. And we're doing that through these Chainlink oracles that are going to the Handshake root zone, looking up your TLD, checking for those HIP-5 records, and making sure that those HIP-5 records are properly configured for our root zone. And so that's kind of how the whole system works and comes together. And so I really see cross-network handshake as an extension of HIP-5. HIP-5 is kind of broadcasting from Handshake what the domain name, the Handshake domain name should be pointing to. And then cross-network handshake and the oracles that we use are allowing the other chain to kind of receive that message and then to extend the functionality of that Handshake domain onto the other chain that it's pointing to. So yeah, I think it's really just kind of a really good extension of these standards that the Impervious team has made, and letting more applications be built in an open source manner. And so I see there's a lot of benefits to how cross-network handshake gets set up with this full stack Web3 DNS system. So the main one is that you can always control the keys for your TLD. And even when you bridge your TLD over, it's a quote unquote bridge, the asset itself never moves, the ownership of it. And so you could even lose your NFT on the Ethereum chain, and you could still reissue it because you still control the Handshake domain. So there's never any risk of losing your asset when you're using cross-network handshake. And then, yeah, of course, we're HIP-5 compliant. And so we'll kind of integrate with any of the other tools. You can build a pretty common resolver plugin for it, use fingertip or whatever. And I think the best part about using the ENS system is that you also get censorship resistant and like DDoS protection and like trustless execution, even on like the SLD side or on the name service side. So even if you're using Handshake, a lot of times you're still pointing to like a normal IP address, and that can be attacked in various ways. But if you're pointing to an Ethereum address, you know that that's always going to be reliable. And so I see that as like a pretty big security benefit on top of like all the Dane stuff. And then, there's like no platform lock-in. So you technically don't have to use anything that like the cross-network handshake team uses. Like you can deploy your own instance if you want to. You can also like build your own registrar if you want to. And so like you can use our oracles, but issue your domains in a different way. And we just add you to the root zone. Obviously, like we'll have to verify the contracts and everything like that. But there's like a lot of flexibility in how you can move and like add things and extend the system. And you can just like completely manage DNS records programmatically. So that would like the main use case would basically be like SLDs and allowing anyone to just buy a domain at any time. But you can do like a lot of other cool stuff like doing like token gated access. Like people can only use certain applications if they use your domain name or whatever. And then, basically everything else is just like being able to use smart contracts and have this like very flexible and like extensible system of applications that are all composable together without having to like do that much work. And then you can build all the stuff like identity solutions and DeFi applications and whatnot. And at the end of the day, it's basically just Handshake. Like you're using your Handshake domains, just extending them to like a totally new use case. And so we're like adding that utility for Handshake domains overall, not just for the specific Handshake users that use XNHNS. So right now, you can bridge your TLDs over to Polygon. Polygon's like it's still an EVM chain like Ethereum, but it's like pretty cheap transactions. I think they're like less than 1 cent at the moment, but it's pretty well established. They have like billions of dollars on there. And yes, you can go to apps, use.Chinese blockchain, Chinese blockchains, I think with an S at the end. That's the name. I have a link at the end of the slides. But you can bridge your TLDs from Handshake over to Polygon and mint your NFTLDs once you set up your HIP-5 records. And then once you've bridged over your domain, you can set up DNS records today. Right now, there's no UI for it. I'm working on that. But you can interact with like ENS directly with the contracts and set up any type of DNS record that you need, including someone's already set up Dane with one of their domains that they bridged over to XNHNS. And you can also stake against your TLD, which basically just like increases the deposit that you have, ensuring that you're going to keep your domain on this chain. And then other people, the way I see that working is like other applications, like let's say you want to take a loan against your TLD, they can use that deposit to kind of like gauge how much they should be lending you, because that's how much money that they can recover. And then, right now I'm working on doing SLD registrars. So basically just be like you send one transaction, you do like one click and send a message, and you would deploy your own registrar. Anyone would be able to do it. You can earn fees in any ERC20 tokens or like the native tokens. You can earn ETH, you can earn whatever DAI, and you can also set your prices in those currencies too. So if you want just like a stable $10 per domain, you can just like price it in DAI. And there's just like a very small like deployment fee for doing that. And then pretty soon, right now, Rithvik was actually super helpful. He like built a subgraph. He basically like helped me gather all the data from all these smart contracts and like what they're doing to build applications. And so that will allow us to build like one website and one app that can sell SLDs for all the different TLDs at once, because we have access to all the data for like the tokens that are needed, what addresses they're deployed at, whatever. And I think that'll be like a pretty big use case. It'll just like be this one hub for basically its own registrar website, like a Namecheap or whatever, but for all of the cross-network handshake domains. And then I'm also building in referral systems so that there's basically an incentive for people to build multiple websites and front ends for like more decentralized like network. So basically anytime you register a TLD with certain registrars, the website that kind of like directs that transaction would get a cut of the deposit or like some fee at some point in time. And so that allows just like a more diverse network, because people can build multiple front ends to the same backend protocol, and allows like different applications to be built and customized. Yeah, and then so this is the website where you can go and mint NFTLDs and start interacting with your domains, and that's used Chinese blockchains. Someone has XNHNS, the actual domain TLD. I think it's D's maybe. And then in the Handshake Discord, there's this. I think it's in the projects group. I don't know, Fistful of Ass would know what it's actually called. But there's in like the project section, it's XNHNS, and then you can follow me on Twitter. And I don't post about Handshake as much lately, but I probably should be. And so you can follow for updates on cross network Handshake there. Cool. I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay, are there questions? No questions.
All right. Well, I got one. So, what is it called? So it's only available to migrate to Polygon right now. But say you wanted to migrate a TLD to Avalanche or any other chain out there, they would just need to make another kind of HIP-5 request that would be compliant with whatever chain they're trying to port to. Or I'm not sure if I'm explaining that correct, because I'm not the most technical person.
Yes. Are you saying that if someone wants to like deploy XNHNS on a different chain, how would they do that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So really all they have to do, I mean, it depends on the chain. So if it's like an EVM chain, they can just copy all of our smart contracts. If it's a chain that has like a different smart contract system like Solana or something, they would have to rebuild them. But really like the only requirement is that it checks the Handshake blockchain and the DNS records for that TLD, and that HIP-5 records are set to point to their chain, like the proper namespace on HIP-5, and then that it's like the proper address that is being pointed to on the chain as well.
Okay, gotcha.
So yeah, like let's say you're doing the easy thing and like going to another EVM chain, then yeah, you just like redeploy the smart contracts with your address, and then that's basically it. Like it should just work.
Oh, nice. pretty simple then. That's awesome. Mike, you got anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think I see Dave. I was on a Twitter space with him. I think a lot of people are in Cosmos. I think IBC is Cosmos, if I understand right. So I think there is a decent amount of interest and overlap within that ecosystem too. But I don't know if there's developers here that could do that. But yeah, Kiba would be a great person maybe at least to ask questions. I mean, obviously you're on Discord or other to help maybe answer questions for people, or maybe they want to build on other chains or things like that.
Yeah, I've been thinking about an IBC chain for a Handshake in a couple of different ways. So I haven't like learned that much about IBC, to be honest, but I think it's definitely applicable. And yeah, so like cross-network Handshake could be its own IBC chain, and then it would just be like this one chain that stores kind of like all the records. It would basically be like a root zone chain for all of Cosmos, I guess. And then all of the other IBC connected chains could just like query the XNHNS chain, I guess, to get the DNS records for any domain, TLD or an SLD. So that would be pretty cool. And then I think Handshake could also be its own like proof of stake Cosmos chain if it wanted to be.
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome.
We have a question from Kirk saying, if you mint SLDs. Oh, okay, here, we can do this question. No, yeah, let's do this question first, and then we'll take Kirk.
Okay. Are you going to look to get DApp support for reverse resolution on ETH, so a central registry contract? Yeah, so we already have that. Well, actually, for us, we don't. For like cross-network Handshake has like an entire system. So there is one registry contract where you can look up all records. Reverse resolution, I don't know exactly what that means, but like I know that there's like this reverse resolver on ENS, which basically takes an address and then it looks up a name. Like it takes an Ethereum address and looks up a domain name for it. And we don't have that set up for cross-network Handshake just because it has to be hosted at like a specific address, and normally it's attached to a domain name directly, but we don't own any domain names in the cross-network Handshake system. It's like all controlled by Handshake and the TLD owners, so we can't like deploy our own at the moment, but any domain name owner could if they wanted to.
All right, and then
but yeah,
we got one from Kirk as well. says, if you mint SLDs on Polygon, then are those a one-time purchase, like unstoppable?
Yeah, so that technically that depends on the registrar. At the moment for our registrar, it's just a fork of ENS again. Yeah, so it's like a linear thing. But you can like change the prices on it. So you could, like a TLD owner could theoretically set the prices to like 0 and just give away free TLDs, or they could just create their own smart contracts that is just a one-time payment, like .forever, which I could probably fork .forever too and set that up.
Okay, cool. And a question about your, I guess, your future UI. Is that going to be kind of like really accessible to like very non-technical people, where they can kind of just one-click set it up and port their TLD to another chain, or is it going to be something more technically focused?
It should be relatively easy. I would think. I'm really bad at like product and design and that kind of stuff. I'm good at like making like features, but I'm bad at like organizing them or designing them or whatever. So it should be pretty easy. You do have to send transactions on 2 different networks. Like you have to send Handshake transactions and Ethereum transactions or Polygon transactions, whatever. So it's definitely not like super easy, but it shouldn't like take any technical knowledge.
Gotcha. And then I guess I don't know, any like other future plans besides the UI or anything like that? Anything future plans for XNHNS to bring it to any kind of broader scope?
Yeah, I have this like domain DAO contract that I built at a hackathon like last year, I think. Maybe it was like even 2 years ago. That was for ENS, and they didn't give me a prize, even though I felt like I had the best thing for them in the hackathon. But whatever. And it's kind of cool. Like it just allows anyone to kind of issue domains that have kind of access controls for like a DAO member. So like a DAO can control whatever, some TLD or even an SLD, and give away subdomains to like their DAO members. And then the contract kind of like looks up, is this address associated with this domain name, and are they a DAO member, and can they access this contract or do whatever? So that's like mostly done. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I know that it works. And then this other thing that I'm waiting to buy a specific domain name on ENS for, but I'm looking at a way to basically like bridge ENS.eth names into cross-network handshake. And so if you have a .eth domain name, then you'll be able to look up the XNHNS name. And so then basically any XNHNS domain name would be able to pop up on browsers because they have the .eth integration. So that'd be pretty cool. But I'm just waiting to buy like the right domain name before I deploy it, you know?
Gotcha. Yeah, that would be cool. Because I remember Zach Brown, he brings up a lot of the time about DAOs or certain protocols, like who runs their domain, or like it's one central point of failure, that one person runs the account that has that domain that their front end is hosted on. So this could definitely be a solution to breaking that up and de-risking that central point of attack for sure. And then we got a question from Steve Webb.
Yeah, the various chains could potentially query the base chain for availability. Yeah, I mean, that definitely works, but I think it would only work for IBC. But any like non-IBC chain would still have to like go and do the bridge. This like Oracle bridge, yeah. IBC is pretty nifty. I really like it. I really wish Ethereum was connected to IBC. It would make life so much easier, I feel like.
I mean, there's more bridges coming and stuff and connections, and it does seem like there's more integration with Ethereum and IBC and Cosmos for sure. It feels like it. Okay. I mean, I guess I know I kind of hinted towards it, but it's just a lot. We're trying to get more developers, from this conference. Seems like people are discovering this recently. How can people help you or contribute to this initiative?
I mean, if you're a developer, there's like doing this front end thing. I mostly, only need help with like front end stuff. So basically just like a normal Web 2 developer would help. And I'm doing like all the smart contract stuff. And maybe someone with like marketing. I don't know if you're interested in just like posting stuff about the project. I'm pretty bad about that. I don't have an account for it even. I guess you could use like the HNS fund. I don't know if that's a bad thing. And what other things? I don't know. Just like come ask questions in the Discord channel. it's really helpful when like people ask me like what is possible or like what can they do or whatever, because that like lets me know what I should be making. So definitely like happy to chat with anyone about anything.
Okay, Miguel's saying some pretty interesting things. He's been really active in this event, and it's new to this to Handshake. It's newer to seem, so he's giving some ideas. Yeah, I mean, if anybody's not here, joining the Discords, HNS Fund has one. Fistful is really great community manager there, and Keep is there, and yeah, I mean, I think there's lots of ways. There's lots of untapped potential in the community. So hopefully this event can spark some more of that. That's one of the main goals. Okay. But yeah, I mean, this is one of my. I think it's gonna be really big for a lot of people. I've done it myself. I used your older web interface, or I haven't checked the new domain yet. I just saw it today, but yeah. So that's right now it's at the root TLD level, right? Like
yeah. So I
kind of call it like an NFTLD or something like that. Is that I heard correctly?
Yeah, NFTLD, because it's an NFT that represents the TLD or ownership of the TLD. Good meme, I think. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just like making memes. And yeah, the plan for cross-network handshake is to like really focus on TLD owners and like providing tools for the TLD owners directly, and not necessarily for like SLD owners and like more application layer stuff. Just because, yeah, if you can like, everyone should really own their own TLD, right? So I think focusing on TLD owners is like the primary like growth vector, I guess, for Handshake domains overall. And then if people want to do stuff with like SLDs, then I don't know, they can do that on their own, but they can still use cross-network handshake as like the bridge and the infrastructure, and then they just create their own apps.
So then the use case at the TLD level on another chain, what would I, because I guess everybody's still programmed to think I sell SLDs, right? A lot of the traditional domain people here are thinking like, I have a TLD, I sell SLD. I mean, so if I, what would I do with it at the TLD level only on another network? Like, maybe I missed it in your talk, to be honest, but I'm trying to think what I would use it for.
Yeah, so like one thing would just be like the DAO stuff, or if you wanted to just like more programmatic access and control or like of issuance. So it doesn't have to be necessarily like selling domains. It could just be like, as an organization, you issue, like different emails to people, and those emails give you certain access to like group emails, that kind of stuff. You can do like entirely on chain, and then like other use cases without selling, there's just like tokenization, right? Like you can like say that like we all want to like own part of this domain name and like have control over it in some way, and then like it allows you to do that stuff easier.
Okay, great, keep it. That's awesome, man. Really great to have you share with us today and be here. So all right, I think we'll wrap up this session then. And there's people asking Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, definitely connect with Kiba. He's great. He's also very active in Ethereum and other, other projects in crypto, and has been a consensus developer and a model. Right? Are you still modeling?
Oh, technically, not really though. It's just how I have my visa.
That's awesome. All right. So we're going to go into networking now. So they have those round tables at the lounge, and it's actually going to be a longer break because one session we kind of had to move around the schedules. And then after the break and the networking, we're going to have Sajjan back. Or no, for the first time, Sajjan's going to talk about India registrar project he's working on and some other really fascinating things. I think there's some media coming from India as well. That's why we had to switch around with Kiva, actually. So, we're gonna have a great session there. So definitely stick around for that. But there's networking and join those roundtables. I don't know if you want to show a video again for the team here. Okay, here it is. So yeah, sure, it's near me. The agenda tab, go to the networking lounge, and then you'll see some tables, and then you could join one and at least have audio. Maybe your video doesn't work or you're anon or whatever. You could, but at least try to do audio and connect with people, make some deals. Yeah, it's a long break. It's a long break. I don't know if it's that long. I think, Johnny, I think it's like an hour though. But
Yeah, no, I think it's just a little bit longer since this ran a little short. That's all. But take this time to get something to eat, I guess, or something. But I'll be there hanging out in the networking section. So I hope to see you
yeah, I
guys
mean,
there,
people
just
wanted
chatting,
more
shooting the
networking from
shit.
last HandyCon, So yeah, this will be a good chance to, there's a good group of people here. And then and there's also the booths. Stephanie's telling me now there's the booths. The booths will be the main sponsors. Also, we're gonna try to I think Encrypted. I don't know if it's still around, but we're trying some domain trading booths or some networking. So all right, I know it's super late for you, a lot of people. Oh yeah, Encrypted is still here. So awesome. We can try some domainer trading groups too. Again, we're just testing things out. We want you to all make some contacts and have some fun and learn some things. I hope you're all enjoying. So yeah, definitely stick around for the for Sajin's talk. It should be a fascinating one, and I'm excited for it. So thank you, everybody. See you in the next
Okay,
session.
thanks for coming.
Kinetic is a blockchain crypto investment firm based in Hong Kong and Puerto Rico. Founded in 2016, they were the first fund in Hong Kong and one of the earliest in Asia. With a portfolio of over 220 companies, they were seed investors in such projects as Ethereum, Parity and Polkadot, Solana, FTX and of course Handshake and Namebase. Founder Johan Chu is an active investor and supporter of the Handshake ecosystem. Over 100,000 domains, co-founder of DWeb Foundation, co-founder of HandyCon, and sponsor of the Handshake House at Miami Hack Week 2022.